Welcome back to another episode of the Choose954 podcast, episode 95, for a very special episode here with the guys from Brews, Beats, and Eats here at Orchestrated Brewery. If you didn't know about Choose954, myself, Evan Snow, and my business partner, Mr. Andrew Martineau, started a social movement to cultivate culture and community here in Broward County, where I'm very proud to be born and raised from, in an effort to keep people to know with all the great things that are going on, make this a better place to live and not just a better place to vacation. The point of the podcast is to connect you with interesting people like them that do important things in the community, and they cover quite a bit. So without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you guys are and what you guys do?
Hey, so my name is Luis Cotto. Initially, I started with beer, brews, and food, but I got this gang together, and now we are Beer Pressure, the podcast. Michelle?
Yes, Michelle. Hi. Happy Florida Girl on Instagram. You'll see me out running literally the streets of Fort Lauderdale, paddling the waterways, and drinking some good beers along the way.
Don't get in her way. Hey, Brews, Beats, and Eats, podcaster, longtime podcaster, old head Ed. You got me, you call me Ed, Team IP Nay. We don't want that over here. I was able to combine with our powers combined. Captain Planet didn't show up.
No, you didn't.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But how did this all combine? How did this all come together?
Perfect. I'm glad you asked. So Evan, this actually was birthed. I got into podcasting 2017 and doing that for a while. And I think Christmas time of 2022, we all decided to jump on a advent calendar containing a beer advent containing 24 beers. So it's funny because we got the advent calendar at that time. Craft Beer Cellar was open, and it was actually the first place that I met them. And then months, almost a year later, we came up with this idea: let's all grab a calendar. And since we're all buying the calendars, I figured, all right, well, you got me being the podcast guy. I was like, you guys just want to talk about this while we drink one? Like each day we open up the calendar, whatever the beer is, and then we'll share our thoughts. We'll drink it. We'll do a Zoom thing. And that's how we started getting into conversation as far as beer and our tastes in beer and so on and so forth. I'm glad that they weren't expecting financial compensation because there was none of that. But they were just down for not yet. That and Captain Planet. So we decided to just talk beer and do it on a regularly basis throughout those 24 days leading up to Christmas.
Great.
Did I get it all?
Mostly, I was going to say, but then you missed the key part is once those 24 beers were done, we were like, well, damn, we don't want this to end yet. Like, what can we do? And so we, literally just went out to eat at one of our favorite places, Billy Jack's, over in Lauderdale by
Shout
the
out
sea.
to Billy Jack's.
We went over there. We're like, let's figure this out. Like, how can we keep this going? And we were like, let's just start a podcast. Like, so we got a plan together. We decided to do what we're calling an audio bottle share. We have physical bottle shares, and everybody gets together. It was at a different brewery. You bring your favorites. So now we just do that once a week at his place. We all bring something different to the table, talk about it, what's going on in the world, how's your life, just a lot of chit-chatting, what's going on and all of that. So it's been fun though, and it's wild that it kind of stemmed from that. I definitely didn't think it was gonna be anything more than those 24 beers, and now we're at 74 episodes?
Local, national.
We do national.
National.
Yeah, so we go to any brewery, or if we find something unique, we'll buy the beer and then we'll bring it to the podcast, and then we'll just chit chat about the beer. And it's just it's just three friends just having a good time over beer. That's what beer is supposed to represent.
And why do you love beer?
Why do I love beer?
And specifically craft beer.
So many reasons.
So many reasons. I mean, especially the hangovers ever. I just love the complexity of flavors when it comes to beer, and how unique beer is. I guess you could have and there's another reason why I love beer is it attracts gnats. Protein. So there's different styles to the beers, and I mean, like, not all flavors, not all styles are, like, favored over. With it just depends on your palate. But I just love beer because it's a little bit more complex than just like sipping. I love bourbon, but I like it a little bit more. I like it a little bit more than beer. I mean, like, you could sip a beer almost on a daily basis. To me, bourbon, like, it's just like that unique time that you could enjoy, like.
And it's been a unique time for craft beer, for the craft beer scene. People are always innovating, coming up with new flavor profiles. From your guys' experience, who are some of your favorite breweries?
So, okay. Obviously, we're in
the right place.
Yes.
we're in Orchestrated Minds, and I'm not saying this just because we're here. They do amazing beers. There's always something different. There's a good consistency with all the types of beers. You can get a sour, you can get a triple IPA, you can get a lager. It's going to be amazing. I think hands down what Orchestrated does best is stouts, though. They're my favorite stouts in the world. I don't care. I love them. They've always been amazing. Especially like winter time, like when it cools off a little bit, there's going to be a little bit more. Get like something nice and roasty, curl up on the couch and watch. And then one of my go-tos also is Invasive. So Invasive Species was one of the first, like, not one of the first breweries in Broward County, but one of the first that I was like really, really excited to go to, because every single time that I go, same thing. It was a new beer, especially when they first started out. They had and what it was called, like blue something, named after Jacques. I think he named it. It was like a blueberry sour. It was called Bluebird, yeah. And that was really good. Salmon Pants was another one, another sour. They've done a lot of really good beers over the years, and again, just
and it's been cool to see that come out of like Laser Wolf and to see the scene evolve. And there's been a lot of memorable moments. Any other noteworthy or favorite breweries that you like to give a little shout out? Love,
man. If we're gonna, no, you, she scratched the top two off the list. No, actually, I've always enjoyed Three Sons.
Oh
Three
yeah,
Sons
in Dania.
Yes. Right by the airport. If you got to pick somebody up, just pull up early, because instead of waiting off the side where where you're not supposed to wait in your car, just pull up the Three Sons. But no, Three Sons was one of the early ones for me when it came to like the Broward scene. Yeah. Where the food was phenomenal, the beer was great. So I want to say it was Three Sons, but then through time we've gotten to know and expand at least for myself, expand my palate, try different places, and like Michelle said, it's like you really can't go wrong no matter where you land, especially in Broward. And I know a lot of people like to flock to Miami. They could choose 305 if they want to, but this is Choose954. So
thank you.
If you're up here, there's definitely, you can make a lot of headway trying different breweries, and they're all quality stuff. I mean, from Yeasty Brews to Pompano Beach Brewing, right down to Broward Boulevard where we're at now. Like, there's definitely spots you can pull up to. But Three Sons has been the one that I've always I always keep an eye on what they got. It's got a secret to like becoming one of my top breweries. It's just if there's like a hip hop theme. Like if there's anything hip hop related, if your cans have a hip hop name, like I'm there.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because why don't you give us a little bit of context behind the Brews, Beats, and Eats, and kind of what you guys like to talk about.
All right. So, Brews, Beats, and Eats started I started it because I originally, when I first found out about podcasts, I was really interested in the space where you kind of play music while you talk or introduce people to new music. That became a little bit of a difficulty when you start monetizing and whatnot. So I'm like, all right, I got to switch that around. But Brews, Beats, and Eats came from the fact that it's like, I wanted to have conversations about mostly music, but then I felt like I didn't want to seclude other people who maybe just weren't the nerdist audiophile that I am when it comes to hip hop. So I'm like, well, what else do I enjoy that it's like, it's a connecting factor, and it's like, food and beer just happened to be something that I was navigating into and starting to get to know a bit better, and the different unique styles that Lewis was describing earlier. So I was like, I think I should combine these three together. So that's how Brews, Beats, and Eats came to be. I sat down with like the first 4 or 5 people, just kind of feeling it out. It's funny because I was telling everybody around me in my circle that I had this idea for a podcast, and I talked about this idea forever. And then it got to a point where they were getting annoyed, and they're like, "When's this thing dropping? Like, when's your first episode?" So I was like, "All right, I have to do something." But the point that at the point that I found out that there was an app on your phone where you could record, edit, and then put it out and publish, I was like, "All right, I really have no excuse. I know I want it to be a certain way, but if I don't have to go through all those hoops and it's made it easy for me to put together, then I'm running out of excuses here. I'm just going to put it together." So sat down, spoke to my youngest son for the first episode. He was home from spring break. He couldn't drink beer. He wasn't legal at the time.
Hey.
So we got root beers, ginger ales, so on and so forth. And that was the first episode, and it kind of just like evolved from there. So yeah, that's pretty much Brews Beats in a nutshell. I had them as guests on before we did Beer Pressure.
Okay.
So it was like you had to do it. You got to be on Brews Beats first, and then we'll talk. Beer Pressure.
I appreciate you mentioning that because it's tough nowadays to discover new music. It's not like the old digging in the crates days or even the SoundCloud days. I find new music from a guy named Joe K with Selection Radio.
Okay.
And he's always doing future beats and forgotten sounds and gems. But it's really tough, and people appreciate finding out not only new music, new culture, beer. So from this experience, you've spoken to a lot of people. You've covered a lot of things. What are some of your favorite episodes along the way?
My favorite episode is the episode when we interviewed Sam Fenor.
I knew you were going to say that.
The best episode because he comes in representing his Savage Life beer, right? And we had a couple of his beers or whatever, but at the end, he had a pocket full of.
Oh, it was at the beginning. It was early on.
It was early on?
Yeah, it was early
okay, it was early on.
Either
All right, either way. So he pulls a mason jar of this liquid and then pulls out some shot glasses from the other pocket and just serves it to us. And it's like, he's been the only guest that has done anything like that in the podcast. And it like we always, when we vet our guests, we try to tell them, hey, this is what Sam Fenor did. You got to do better than that, So yeah, I think it was at episode like 5, something like that. It was early on. Yeah, it was like one of our first episodes that we had Sam Fenor on.
Well, and fun fact about Sam is on our last day of recording the Advent calendar, Jingle These Hops is what we called it.
Yeah.
Sam was actually, he kind of popped up and surprised us and kind of joined our last recording because we were at CBC. And that's really where we had already started talking about okay, where is this gonna go? What are we doing here? And I think talking to him too, we were like, well, damn, we have something with this. He was part of the evolution of us, and I think that's why that was probably a memorable episode for you. And coincidentally, we were just at Pompano Beach Brewery, where Sam also is now, and we got to talk to one of the brewers there, Will, about basically I like the education side of brewing, learning about the process and what goes in to their mind when they're trying to come up with different beer profiles and things like that. So Will really got deep into the sours, how he picks these different fruit profiles, combinations, flavors to be able to put them together and really produce something really, really amazing. Because a lot of times with sours, when you're blending a bunch of different flavors or a couple different flavors, I feel like a lot of times one of them will, more often than not, will just be more prominent. And I don't know what Will is doing back there, but he blends them so perfectly that you get hints of the two different flavors, but you can't quite rule one out. You know what I'm saying? I forget what it was. It was raspberry and blackberry, I think, was one of the combinations. And I think on their own, if you eat a raspberry, if you eat a blackberry, very distinguishable. You can tell the difference. And whatever he did, perfectly blended it, that it captured the best parts of both fruits. So I was like, this is amazing.
I'm glad that you mentioned the education part of it, because unless you really go tour breweries around the country traditionally, you might not get that exposure to all of what goes into it. And I'm gonna just say it, I toured New Belgium back in 2014. That was the first time I ever tried a sour in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I gained a much larger appreciation for sour beers from that experience. Not that I couldn't have gained the appreciation at the brewery, at a local brewery, but being there in the moment, and that's one of the things that, if you didn't know, we kind of came together from the Female Brewfest, which my business partner's wife, Frances Martineau, created as a platform to give a platform for women in the craft beer industry that either brew their own beers or own breweries, to become the pioneering craft beer festival celebrating women in the industry. But it's not just sampling beers and having a good time. There is an education component because you get to hear from the brewers, you get to hear, and there's also other educational components and workshops and other tours and so on and so forth. So that's why we wanted to do this here at Orchestrated Mind, which is one of the participating breweries in the Female Brewfest. Brewfest is September the 14th. This year, the 7th year, it's going to be at the Loop on Los Olas and A1A, which is pretty cool. Started humble beginnings right over there in Fat Village. Moved around a couple times, Gulfstream Park. You know.
So can I tell you, I've been going since the first one. So I think I missed one somewhere in the middle there. And for me, because we had Frances and Andrew join us for an episode too. And I am like just beyond thrilled to see how that evolved as well. I mean, obviously as a woman, it's great to see other women doing something I love. I think it's wonderful. But then on top of it, to see how she's really brought more women from the community, like from around Broward, into getting into beer, because I think it can be very intimidating for a lot of women to walk into a very male-dominated industry, a brewery. Like, this isn't very, like, you know, girly, if you will. But to have like that entrance into it, where like you're like, all right, I'm learning something about this. I know what it is. Like, I'm interested, and I want to keep, like, I want to know more. Because Frances was also doing Girls Pint Out. That's where I met her, the Florida chapter. And so we came here when Orchestrated first opened. We had a meetup here. We had a meetup at Invasive. We've gone all over the place. But again, to see the evolution of Female is, I think it's
and this is and like between, like, reading between the lines and connecting the threads, like, this is community building. And like Pink Boots has done a phenomenal job of that for women, to bring women together in a, like you said, in the traditionally male-dominated industry. It is what it is. You know, you can't sugarcoat it. But also bringing people together that love a certain thing, craft beer, art, culture. Nobody wants to live in a place where they don't have people that they can resonate with. You want to have that community vibe. So I really appreciate, you kind of highlighting that. And you mentioned Broward. I'd like you guys all to kind of give me your take on the Broward craft beer scene, because for those that might not know, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, it's evolved a lot more than just Funky Buddha.
Yes.
Yeah.
Much love and respect to them.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, and you've been around for a minute, so why don't you just give us your take on the Broward beer scene, craft beer scene, and also maybe some hidden gems, because we've mentioned some of the. We've mentioned the usual suspects, you know what I mean, and then they deserve the love too. But maybe some other guys that maybe not everybody knows about.
All right. First of all, I'd like to say that my favorite episode was with Andrew and Frances. I found out that I could make friends with our guests, because Andrew was he made it a point where he's like, oh, we're not friends, I guess, because I said they were special guests, and he kind of gave me a little ribbing about like, we're friends, So I'm like, great, I made a new friend. Shouts to Andrew. But no, going back to your question, yes. Besides just the spots that we mentioned that most people know as like Broward beer spots,
Three Sons, Orchestrated Mind, Invasive.
Those are great. What I like is the fact that now their influence has stretched out to just regular businesses, where you're gonna find their beers there. If you go to Satellite Pinball, you're gonna see something there. If you go to where else?
Now you're put on the spot.
Yeah, 10th Level Tavern. Yes, shouts to 10th Level Tavern. You pull up there, you're gonna have beers there, and not just their beers, but around, from all around. So I like the influence that just the craft beer community has here, reaching out beyond. As far as hidden gems, She doesn't like the word hidden gems.
Lesser known places.
There we go.
Places, yes. I'm gonna steal one. I'm gonna steal their thunder, and it's not necessarily brewery related, but it's just food related. Eat BMC.
Hey.
Eat
My
BMC.
guy.
Yes. Oakland Park.
right now.
By the time you hear this episode, I'm sure they'll be in full swing open. Eat BMC Smash Burgers. They're opening up in Oakland Park. They've already done a soft opening. Definitely a secret jewel.
Nice.
Definitely a secret.
Oh, even
jewel.
satellite pinball. That's like,
Satellite Pinball. It is right next to Satellite Pinball. You know,
and people
so-
are starting to get. It's starting to come out, and then
Yes.
it's cool because it's another way. We're big on support local.
Correct.
So to give these local businesses the support, because these are also dreamers, doers, passion pursuers,
So true.
creative entrepreneurs. That if this is your passion and this is what you want to do in a place like Broward County, you should be able to do it. Now, unfortunately, we can't control the cost of rent and some things, and unfortunately, as we've seen in the news recently, some of the OGs have
Correct.
since
Yes,
recently
yes.
closed, and that just comes with it. But hopefully, by podcasts like this, like your guys, we can give some notoriety. We can give some knowledge to new people in the community, so now maybe they can patronize those small businesses. And that's another thing why I love the Fema Brewfest, because it's not just the big guys, and also it's not just local. They're bringing in people from all over.
Yep.
So I appreciate you mentioning that.
Yeah.
Any other lesser-known establishments?
I have to. I
Please.
have Yeasty Brews in Lauderdale.
Lauderdale, yeah.
And I have Dangerous Minds
Yep.
in Pompano Beach. And I'm a big proponent when it comes to anything that follows the Rhine High School, the purity law of beer. So you were supposed to God bless me. Yeah. They're true to their nature. Like they're true to the beer nature when it comes to that German purity law. It's one of my favorites to go to because it's probably 10 minutes away from me anyway. So it's one of my favorites to go to. Yeasty Brews is also my other favorite to go to because they have a bunch of pretty cool nights that they advertise out there. One of my other favorites, and again, it's one of the places that closed down recently was Odd Breed. Odd Breed was
They were solid.
to me, Matt was one of the better breweries in South Florida, maybe in Florida. He was a mastermind. He was a genius. He was genius behind that brewing system.
Not everybody can reach the level of success, really the level of revenue.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen Jay Wakefield and Riverside Market. Whoever would have thought, Riverside would close, but it happens.
Yep.
But that's why, once again, giving love, because not everybody knows about Yeasty Brews in Lauderhill, and they're super solid.
They're solid. Their beers are solid over there. Dangerous Minds is solid over there. Any other?
So something that they have in common too, I don't know if this is whatever because Riverside did not do so hot there in this department, but Yeasty Brews, Dangerous Minds, Three Sons all have amazing food. I think that is really, really killer. Three Sons, if you go get the Swordfish BLT or whatever it's called, I think it's a Swordfish Reuben, but add bacon. Oh my God, that's what it is. That is amazing. Also, we haven't mentioned Gulfstream. Gulfstream is
another one.
Gulfstream's really, really solid. I think they have one or two beers over at Billy Jack's too. So, but again, the food component, if you can knock it out of the park with beers, but then you want to bring food into the mix too, I'm there all day.
No, I mean, it's, and I give a rub, and I think kind of people in the know kind of give a rub to Funky Buddha, but not for nothing. They started off very humble beginnings in Oakland Park before people knew what Oakland Park was, blew it up, sold it to Constellation Brands for $40-something million, and then they recently bought it back.
Yes.
So that's kind of the American dream right there, and they're a staple in Oakland Park, and they really, I mean, however you want to slice it up, Oakland Park's blowing up right now. but they really helped Oakland Park get on the map.
They did, and because I think wasn't their first location in another area code.
I think it was
but
in Boca.
It was in Boca. Yeah, it was in Boca. But when they came here, I remember that being like a little bit of a shakeup. There was like, oh my God, there's like a real brewery, like they're legit, and people were like very excited because I went to one of their second, one of the early anniversary parties for them, and I was like, this is amazing. I didn't know this was like a real thing, because you never think of Florida, and definitely not Broward County. I grew up here like my whole life, so I was like, I never thought of breweries being in my backyard. I always thought of them in Colorado, in California, and like wherever.
St. Pete, Tampa.
Yeah, not even Florida. I thought they were definitely farther away. but so when I saw it at the same time, like I had already been like introduced to the craft beer world, like through other friends and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, this is actually really cool that this is right here, and kind of snowballs.
It is really cool, because I mean, we deserve to have nice things too in Broward. You know what I mean? And that is a great success story. I did want to give you guys, if aside from your favorite episodes, I've had some cool things come from doing a podcast. Somebody hears about something, they reach out, and they're like, yo, I didn't know that was in my backyard. I met this person that changed my life. I met my partner at this event that I found out about. Any cool success stories or things that came from the podcast?
Again, well, that's what. Yeah, I think they're gonna echo my sentiments. We're gonna be the official podcast of the Female Brewfest. So, yeah. This is normally why I would put the applause sound, but that's different podcast. There you go. So that's a great experience.
Great.
Also,
Did you do breaking news sounds?
please hit it. That's breaking news. But also to give shouts to Exit One Tap Room, because they invited us to our first beer fest, where they said, we like what you guys are doing, come through. We went to the Pinetoberfest last year and we were able to attend that. They took care of us, very hospitable. It was a great time. That's also coming up soon. You guys keep an eye out for that. Even the owners, Audis and Breezy, were even nice enough to invite us to the Doral Prison Pals and get on the podcast shortly after they invited us. So, I mean, it's those connections. You have a podcast based on arts, community, and all that good stuff that comes, like, it's all balled into one. And that's my favorite part, is just the connectivity.
Right.
The community that happens. Even if it's just you catch someone off glance at a bar, and the next time you see them around the brewery, like, it's happened before. We've gone like brewery hopping in other areas, and they're like, those people are the same ones that were at the last brewery.
Right.
So
that's the community.
Correct. So that when that happens in your own hometown, it's like there's a level of appreciation, because like this is not going to be the last time. It's not going to be the last time. So
this kind of came out in a little bit of a random cool way, because I known you for a few years, volunteering and helping out, supporting the beer festival. But we were at the airport, both going on the same flight to San Francisco with Andrew. And Andrew's sitting there talking. I didn't know you, and he's like, yeah, you got a podcast, and like, oh, we started chopping it up. Our flight got delayed. We were going to go see some empty spaces in San Francisco, and here we are. And I love when it kind of comes full circle, and we're all doing the right thing. We're all trying to help people. We're doing what we love. You know what I mean? We don't have a formal sponsor for this podcast either, but I do it because it's the right thing to do. And hopefully by continuing to do it, staying authentic, staying genuine, supporting good people, good things will come from it. It doesn't have to be $1 million or anything like that.
Any cool stories regarding the podcast? I mean, the only cool thing... What happened?
So one time at Bandcamp?
One time at Bandcamp. No, the only cool thing is the fact that, I'm hanging out with my two best friends. I think that's the... You should have known this already, right? I mean, like, it's cool just hanging out with my two friends and just grabbing a beer and just talking crap, throughout the entire time,
One of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, and we feel like 120 minutes of just like crapola and beer drinking. But I mean, it's a fun time. It's a really good time. You can catch us on Beer Pressure, the podcast. You could also check out our merch store. Check the merch store. Yep. Right here, look. Right here. but besides that, I do beer, brews, and food. Haven't done.
What it sounds like.
Yeah, exactly
Where
what
can
it
they
sounds
find
like. Yeah, beer, brews, and food. On Instagram, same thing with. I do have a website now. Yeah, beerbrewsandfood.com. Yeah.
And what? Any other personal social or any other social?
Oh no, I don't do the personal social stuff. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, go on.
I'm just kidding. Hoppy Florida Girl. You'll find my running adventures there. Sometimes my beer adventures for sure. Yeah, and find us at Female coming up next month, which will be a good time.
Definitely. Lewis was being real modest. He does a lot for the damn podcast.
That's right.
I'll just say that. He's the one that acquires guests for us. So if you're interested on being on Beer Pressure,
Yep.
the first and only audio bottle share that hasn't been contested yet, hit up Lewis at Beer, Brews, and Food. We're gonna have Evan on there sooner than soon. And as far as my IG handles, it's Brews Beats, the letter N Eats. Got new episodes on the way. They don't like to hear about that podcast. Shouts to Quick the Poet. That episode's dropping soon. And I don't have anything besides that.
Former guest of ours, Quick the Poet, former Creative Zen speaker at our event.
And
Great guy.
all around good person.
All around
yes.
solid dude.
So I'm excited for that. I'm hoping you guys are excited for that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much us. You covered the merch store.
I covered the merch store.
Okay, Bruce Beats and Needs.
Wait, the what store?
The merch store.
Yeah.
The merch store.
We got some models representing. You can find them at the Female Brewfest, September the 14th.
Excited.
Los Olson A1A at the Loop, 7th annual installment. It's a
Come say
great
what's
thing.
up. Come say what's up to us. We're gonna be behind microphones, and we don't mind if you come over and say hello. Maybe we'll ask you a couple questions. Yes, definitely. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you again to Andrew and Francis and Andrew, for making us part of that. That's a great feeling. If we were talking about accomplishments, things like I said, we said it earlier, it doesn't hurt to say it again. These are accomplishments that when we set off to crack open 3 beers and talk that crap for an hour and 20 minutes and in a 1 hour bag, that wasn't what we thought we were going to get to.
Whoever would have known.
Who would have known? Exactly. And here we are. So shouts to every brewery, every craft brewery from Broward to Dade, who's putting in the work and accepting us as just some locals. It's good to feel
Rising tides raise all ships.
That's it.
Which
Exactly.
is the wave in the logo. If you didn't know, that Andrew created.
Hey, Evan. No, thank you. Mostly, thank you, Evan. Thank you so much.
Amen. We're doing the best with what we got. Got more cool stuff. We just had the Mezcal Lauderdale Festival, which I saw you at. The 3rd annual largest celebration of Mezcal that we know of currently in the country. Do have a omasake dinner coming up with Andrew's brother-in-law, Francis's brother, Jay, and Twan at Miso, right over here, this Monday, August the 26th, which is going to be cool. They're actually going to pair it with Mezcal, so you can find out more Mezcal Lauderdale.
Can't wait for that invite.
Hey, $200 dinner, you know.
I got it. That's it.
gotta cover the cost.
We take it out of the budget.
More cool stuff where that came from. You can find more cool stuff at Choose954. We still do tours of the Downtown Hollywood Art Walk every third Saturday night of the month, free event. We have our monthly breakfast lecture series, our mini TED Talk every second Friday morning of the month. We do potlucks for artists, but creatives, quarterly. Next one, we just had it last week. The next one will be in Thanksgiving time. And we're still doing our thing with Zero Empty Spaces, activating vacant storefronts.
That's
to
an awesome
provide
initiative.
studios for artists to create and collaborate. We're up to 31 in the last 5 years.
And you guys are national, right? It's not
And now
like
we're in 4 states.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
We're starting
Yeah.
to grow. So yeah, if you know an artist, looking for community or a space to create, or anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm an open book at EvansSnow13, at Choose954. Follow at Female Brewfest. Follow these guys. They're doing great things. Also, shout out to Orchestrated Minds, who will be at the festival as well.
Yes.
And all the guys in Broward. I mean, it's been a really cool thing to watch. Even from like when I used to go to Untapped in Pompano, when Pompano was really
that's still one of my favorite things to do. Like, and it's shut down for the summer,
Right.
But like during the fall and winter, it's like one of my favorite things to do because all the different food trucks and all the different art vendors out there. Like, there's a nice little art gallery that's set up. It's amazing. It's amazing times. So
you can find out a bunch of cool stuff like this on Choose954. We support Pompano and the Bailey Arts Contemporary Center and Untapped. I'm from Coral Springs. My address technically said Pompano, so it's so cool that I never would have imagined I'd be going to see art and drink craft beer in Pompano when I was growing up. But once again, these businesses couldn't survive if we do not patronize them and support local small businesses.
100%, man.
Budweiser, Coors Light, they're going to be all right. But your dollars go a lot further at an Orchestrated Minds and Invasive Species and a Three Sons and the Eastie Brews. So thank you guys for tuning in, supporting local. If you know more cool people in the community that are doing important things, we're always looking for more guests. We do this because it's the right thing to do. And
same.
and vice versa. So
Same.
we'll see you at the Famo Brewfest. Cheers.
Cheers.